Hi, friends. I'm Max Lucado, and welcome to Fresh Hope. I am so glad you've joined me. We continue our study on the life of David based on a book I wrote called Facing Your Giants. Now, you may be wondering what God saw in David. He fell as often as he stood, he stumbled as often as he conquered, but God never abandoned David, and David never gave up on God. I've learned the hard way that you can climb too high in life for your own good, linger too long at the high altitudes, and two of your senses suffer. First, your hearing dulls. It's hard to hear people when you're higher than them, and your eyesight dims. It's hard to focus on people when you're so far above them. They can appear so small, and you can hardly distinguish one from the other. You don't hear them, you don't see them, you're above them, which is exactly where David is in our story today. At age 50, he's never been higher. Israel is expanding, the country is prospering. In 2 decades on the throne, David has distinguished himself as a warrior, a musician, a statesman, and a king. His cabinet is strong, his boundaries stretch for 60,000 square miles, no defeats on the battlefield, loved by all the people. David is at an all-time high. Quite a contrast to how we first found him. Do you remember in the valley of Elah, kneeling at the brook, searching for 5 smooth stones? All others stood. The soldiers stood, Goliath stood, the brothers stood, the others were high. David was low, belly down in the lowest part of the valley, never lower, yet never stronger. 3 decades later, his situation is reversed, never higher, yet never weaker. David stands at the highest point of his life, in the highest position in the kingdom, at the highest place in the city, on the balcony overlooking Jerusalem. He should be with his men at battle, but he isn't. 2 Samuel chapter 11 and verse 1 says, "In the spring, when the kings normally went out to war, David sent out Joab, his servants, and all the Israelites. They destroyed the Ammonites and attacked the city of Rabbah. But David stayed in Jerusalem." It's springtime in Jerusalem. The nights are warm. The air is sweet. David has time on his hands and love on his mind and people at his disposal. His eyes fall upon a woman as she bathes. He looks and likes what he sees, so he inquires about her. A servant returns with this information in verse 3. That woman is Bathsheba, daughter of Eliam. She is the wife of Uriah the Hittite. The servant laces his information with a warning. He gives not only the woman's name, but her marital status and the name of her husband. Why tell David she is married if not to caution him? Why give the husband's name unless David is familiar with it? Odds are David knew Uriah, and the servant hopes to dissuade the king. But the next verse describes David's first step down a greasy slope. So David sent messengers to bring Bathsheba to him. When she came to him, he had sexual relations with her. Verse 4. David sins many times in this story. He sends Joab to battle, verse 1. He sends the servant to inquire about Bathsheba, verse 3. He sends for Bathsheba to have her come to him, verse 4. When in verse 6, David learns of her pregnancy, he sends word to Joab to send Uriah back to Jerusalem. David sends him to Bathsheba to rest, but Uriah is too noble. David opts to send Uriah back to a place in the battle where he is sure to be killed. Thinking his cover-up is complete, in verse 27, David sends for Bathsheba and marries her. We don't like this sending, demanding David. We prefer the pastoring David, caring for the flock, the worshiping David, penning the Psalms. We aren't prepared for the David who has lost control, who sins as he sins. What has happened to him? Simple. Altitude sickness. He's been too high, too long. The thin air has messed with his senses. He can't hear as he used to. He can't hear the warnings of the servant or the voice of his conscience, nor can he hear his Lord. The pinnacle has dulled his ears and blinded his eyes. Did David see Bathsheba? No. He saw Bathsheba bathing. He saw Bathsheba the conquest. But did he see Bathsheba the human being, the wife of Uriah, the creation of God? No. David had lost his vision. Too long at the top will do that to you. Of course, who among us could ever ascend as high as David? Who among us is a finger snap away from a rendezvous with anyone we choose? Presidents and kings might send people to do their bidding. We're lucky to send out for Chinese food. We can understand David's other struggles, but David is high and mighty. David's balcony is one place we've never been. Or have we? I wasn't on a balcony, but I was on a flight. And I didn't watch a woman bathe, but I did watch an airline attendant fumble. She couldn't do anything right. Order soda, and she'd bring juice. Ask for a pillow, and she'd bring a blanket. And I started to grumble. I was feeling a bit smug. I'd just been a guest speaker at an event, and people told me how lucky they were that I had come. I don't know what was crazier, the fact that they said it or that I believed it. So I boarded the plane feeling cocky. I took my seat knowing the flight was safe, since heaven knows I'm essential to the work of God. Then I asked for the soda, the pillow. She blew the assignments, and I growled. Do you see what I was doing? Placing myself higher than the airline attendant. Now, don't look at me like that. Haven't you felt superior to someone? A parking lot attendant, the clerk at the grocery store? You've done what I did, and we've done what David did. We've lost our sight and hearing. When I looked at the airline attendant, I didn't see a human being. I saw necessary commodity. Imagine my surprise when the flight attendant knelt beside my seat. "Mr. Lucado," she asked, "are you the one who writes the Christian books?" Christian books, yes. Christian thoughts, that's another matter, I said to myself as I descended my own little balcony stairs. Her eyes misted and her heart opened. Divorce papers had arrived that morning, she told me. Her husband wouldn't return her calls. She didn't know where she was going to live. She could hardly focus on work. Would I pray for her? I did, but both God and I knew she was not the only one who needed prayer. Perhaps you could use a prayer too. How's your hearing? Do you hear the servants whom God sends in your vision? Do you still see people? Or do you see only their functions? I think the story of David and Bathsheba is less a story of lust and more a story of power. A story of a man who rose too high for his own good. A man who needed to hear these words from Proverbs 16:18. First pride, then the crash. The bigger the ego, the harder the fall. This must be why God hates arrogance. He hates to see his children fall. He hates to see his Davids seduce and his Bathshebas be victimized. God doesn't dislike arrogance. He hates it. Could he state it any clearer than Proverbs 8:13? I hate pride and arrogance. And then a few chapters later, God can't stomach arrogance or pretense. Believe me, he'll put those upstarts in their place. Chapter 16 and verse 5. You don't want God to do that. Just ask David. He never quite recovered from this bout with this giant. Want to fight your own giant of pride? Here's how. Pursue humility. Humility doesn't mean you think less of yourself, but that you think of yourself less. As Romans 12:3 says, don't cherish exaggerated ideas of yourself or your importance, but try to have a sane estimate of your capabilities by the light of the faith that God has given to you. What would happen if everyone took on the role of a servant? How many marriages would be blessed? If politicians set out to serve their people more than serve themselves, would the country benefit? If churches were populated by sincere servants, how many people would hear the invitation of a lifetime? In the hallway of my memory hangs a photograph. It's a picture of two people, a man and a woman, a couple in the 7th decade of life. The man lies in the hospital bed, but the hospital bed is in the living room, not the hospital room. His body, for all practical purposes, is useless. Muscles have been so ravaged by ALS that they're stretched from bone to bone like the taut fabric on the spokes of an umbrella. He breathes through a hose attached to a hole at the base of his throat. And though his body is ineffective, his eyes are searching. They scan the room for his partner, a woman whose age is concealed by her youthful vigor. Though her hair is gray, she's vibrant and healthy in contrast to the figure lying in the bed. And she willingly goes about her task of the day, taking care of her husband. With unswerving loyalty, she does what she's been doing for the past 2 years. Not an easy assignment. She must shave him, bathe him, feed him, comb his hair, brush his teeth. She holds his hand as they sit and watch television together. She gets up in the middle of the night and suctions his lungs. She leans over and kisses his feverish face. She serves him. By the time my father took his final breath, the two had been married for over 4 decades. And on the day we buried him, I thanked my mom for modeling the spirit of Christ, quiet servanthood. Let's follow her example. Let's seek not to be served, but to serve. Resist the place of celebrity. Luke 14:10 instructs, go sit in a seat that is not important. When the host comes to you, he may say, friend, move up here to a more important place. Then all the other guests will respect you. Wouldn't you rather be invited up than put down? You know, God has a cure for the high and mighty. Come down from the mountain. And when you do, you'll be amazed at what you hear and who you see. So fight the giant of pride. Don't lose sight of who you are in God and who others are in Him. Our God will help you on this because God still does the impossible.
You don't have to stay close. As long as you're somewhere out there, that's enough for me. I don't need to hold you near me, don't need promises to keep. Just the thought that you are breathing somewhere in this world I see. Even if I'm not beside you, even if you never know, there's a quiet kind of comfort just in knowing you still glow. I don't need forever, I just need you to exist. You don't have to stay with me, you don't have to feel the same. Just as long as you're still out there, calling softly through my days. You don't have to look my way, you don't have to be my home. It's enough to know you're living in a world I'm not alone. I won't chase you through the distance, won't disturb your chosen life. I'll just keep you in my silence, like a star that shines at night. Through the dark and through the blue, I still think of you. You don't have to stay with me, you don't have to feel the same. Just as long as you're still out there, calling softly through my days. You don't have to look my way, you don't have to be my home. It's enough to know you're living in a world I'm not alone. I don't need to be your light, I don't need to cross your mind. All I need is just the truth that you're somewhere still alive. You don't have to stay with me, you don't have to feel the same. Just as long as you're still out there, calling softly through my days. You don't have to look my way, you don't have to be my home. It's enough to know you're